G'day, welcome to Project Brupeg. My name's Damien. We're converting a sunken fishing trawler into a global expedition and research boat. We're community funded and you can get on board. Today, we're getting our anchor winch sorted out so we can pull up our massive 110 kg anchor.
Let's go away like you see me now.
This is our hydraulic anchor winch. So this thing is a beast. We stripped it down and rebuilt it. There's a link in the corner now where you can check out what's inside this box. What we need to do is get that hydraulic motor hooked up to the engine so that we can run all of our hydraulic fluid through our pipes. The pipes are what we're going to be building today. So they go through the deck via these two little fittings. On the underside of the foredeck, we've got this big web that we built. There's another link in the corner now where we built that. The pipes run from there across to the bulkhead and lead into the front cabin. The pipework then comes through this bulkhead, and the front cabin here works its way along the wall and starts heading down behind the fridge in the kitchen. So the fridge just here, there's a gap beside the fridge down here. The pipework works its way along this gap here, comes down to the floor, and then we'll be going through these two fittings down into the freezer room. Down in the freezer room is our parts storage room. Those two fittings will come down in the wall just right over on the far side of the boat there, and they'll work their way along and they'll link into these four pipes. So these four pipes are our hydraulic lines that go down into the engine bay. So you can see them running all the way down and they end up working their way through the far bulkhead. Those four pipes branch off into different directions in the engine bay here. They come down the wall and they head over to our autopilot and also our oil storage tank. We're fitting a new valve here. Well, when I say we, Sam's doing it. I'm doing bugger all. So this is a priority valve, isn't it?
It's a 3-port selector, so it allows you to use the same oil to run two separate circuits.
Right. Okay. Cool. Nice. So that allows us to select between steering and anchor. It's not ideal, but our pump isn't big enough and we physically can't put a bigger pump on the engine without having to do something drastic. So for now we're going to try this. We can always upgrade it later if we need to. Okay, so how do we actually wire this up once it's all done?
So basically all you need is just a power and an earth wire. It just energizes this magnetic coil, which then shifts a small spool inside here, which will give you selection between port A and port B.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense. Nice. And it's pretty much a similar setup on our autopilot, eh?
Yeah, yep. So as it's sitting with no power, you get priority to your steering, so that if you ever do lose power, you don't have to try and stand here with a pick trying to hold it across. It'll be on your default to your steering.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you. So I want to explain that last comment about the pump size. There's a couple of different ways that we can do this on Brupeg. We can get what's called a hydraulic power pack. So you have like an electric motor. You run your generator to power an electric motor that then runs a bunch of hydraulic fittings that essentially put oil, it's a hydraulic pump basically, that puts oil up and down around the boat wherever it needs to go. That's one way of going, but you always have to run your generator to do that. The second option is a hydraulic pump on the engine with an electric clutch. So the electric clutch disengages it from the main engine when it's not needed, so you don't have that drag of a pump running the whole time. And that's a pretty awesome way of doing it, but it's not cheap and there's a lot of extra gear that we have to do. We have to build brackets and we have to do all sorts of stuff like that. That's our plan B if this plan doesn't work. The way that we're doing it at the moment, we've got a brand new steering pump and we're going to tee into the feed from that steering pump and we're going to run that up to the anchor winch. Now the downside of doing this is if we're lifting the anchor winch at full power, so if we're lifting the anchor at full power with the winch, we don't have a lot of steering. However, it's not often that you're trying to lift an anchor and you're also going mad and flapping the rudder from side to side. If you are, you probably need to have boat lessons. So with that said, we're pretty confident that we can get away with what we're doing as a trial. If it doesn't work, we're going to add a bigger pump onto the engine. There's a stainless plate that's getting made for the back, and that bolts to the original bracket over here that we've got our autopilot mounted onto, and then our new valve is going to be sitting straight onto that stainless plate. On the side of the freezer room, you can see so now that he's got the hole through the top here, You can sort of see in there we can start fitting in the various bulkhead fittings and so on, so that we can run a duplicate pipe. So a fifth pipe's going to come all the way along these pipes here in the corner there. Ignore all the cables we've got strapped to it. In the corner there, it's going to tee off and head over towards the front of the boat up that direction. So we've got some pipes cut. So that's going to be the first pipe that we're going to be putting into the boat. That goes from the valve that we've just fitted in and up to the bulkhead that we've just drilled the holes for. So that's now fitted. We've got some pipes over here. You can sort of see the lengths. They come in 6 metre lengths, and these are going to form the backbone of our system. So 2 right up to the winch, and then a couple of others that do return lines and tee into our steering and so on. This is staying in this room, eh?
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's that one. It's a short one. Spinner.
Don't need one.
So what I was thinking, do a short bend here.
Yep.
Just run it along top here.
Yeah, right.
Nice
join
big bend, and then just another short bend. So it'll probably sit out a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's got to cross over these pipes. It's probably not a bad
Yeah.
thing that it sticks out a little bit anyway. So.
Alright, sounds good. So I'm up in Brupeg's galley or kitchen. Directly below me is the freezer room. So we've got our hydraulic pipes that are working from the engine bay all the way up to the freezer room area, right over into this side of the boat. They're going to come up through the floor, go around along this wall and work their way all the way to the front of the boat where they can start making their way to the anchor winch. Now, every time we go through a solid, whether it be a wall or a floor or whatever, it's called a bulkhead. And we have one of these fittings. So when we're doing hydraulics, we use these fittings to go through anything solid. And you can sort of see there's an angled piece on this end and exactly the same on that end. From memory, it's 37.5 degrees. It's a pretty particular angle. I think I'm probably wrong on that number, but it's something like that for hydraulic fittings, because they have to take a huge amount of pressure. This isn't real high pressure, it's only 1500 psi, but I think from memory they're rated to about 3,500, so they can go pretty tight. Now what we do, this is just held on with a thread, it's just a nut held on there. So we just get a 25mm hole saw in this case, put a hole through whatever it is, whether it's a bulkhead, floor, whatever it might be, and then on the other side we screw this nut up like that and we screw it up tight, and that locks that fitting in. And what that means is we can bring a pipe in here with a flare on it that flare is also matched to that angle there, and then we can crank the whole lot together and it locks the pipe onto this fitting, and then we can do exactly the same on that side, and it means that we can safely get through a bulkhead. This is a watertight fitting, so you can have this compartment completely flooded with a wall down here. You can have this completely flooded and it won't come through onto this side. You have to use these for survey regulations, so that's why we put these through all of our bulkheads, so that we can fill up one of the compartments in the boat and it won't, you know, necessarily affect the other parts of the boat. So what we're going to do now, smash a couple of holes in the floor and we'll put our 2 bulkhead fittings in. So once we've got our hole drilled, we've got a bit of paint on there. That paint may or may not set, doesn't really matter. This is going to be completely jammed up and encapsulated anyway, so if there is an air gap, the paint will set. If there isn't, the paint won't set. And if there isn't a gap, it's not going to rust anyway. So just a bit of insurance. So throw both of those in. I'm pedantic, I like to make sure that they line up. There we go. Both edges are the same. Alright, let's go and put these nuts on the bottom there. Alright, so down in the freezer room, bit of oil and stuff's come through, but that's where they sit. So right up in the front corner, they're going to basically work their way along here, and they're going to meet up with the corner of these pipes over here. Spare time. Blows. Oh yeah, that worked really well. Funny story, these don't fit, but kind of knew that might be the case. So these, I've used a 20 mil hole saw, and these are about 21 millimeters, something like that. They're not fitting. I was hoping the hole saw would make the hole slightly bigger. They never drill exactly 20, they sometimes drill over. I was hoping it was going to drill big enough that I could get this in, it would just be tight. But I do have a bigger drill that's actually just a regular drill as opposed to like a hole saw, so I'm just going to buzz that through. Just have to take a small amount out and then we'll get those in. There we go. Beautiful. Rightio, and two. Coming through. Beautiful. The beauty of putting a little bit of adhesive like this on these two fittings is it seals up any gaps and holes and things like that, so rust stops becoming so much of an issue. The only job of paint is to basically provide a barrier against, like, you know, paint being whacked off and the rust getting to oxygen and stopping oxygen from touching that steel. By sandwiching this sealant in between all of this stuff here, because it's had contact with oxygen while it's been squirted out, it will set. And it also means that we're not going to have any rust issues up in this area because we've completely encapsulated that steel in an adhesive. It also means that these nuts are going to work a little bit like a nylock, so the adhesive is going to sort of lock onto those threads. It's not going to be strong enough if we would want to take them off with a big spanner later. No worries, we'll easily be able to smash that through, but it's going to stop it from just vibrating loose and doing anything stupid like that. So we use a little bit of adhesive when we're putting them in these sort of situations because it sort of does multi-purpose, you know, for what we're trying to do, and it seems to work really well. So I have a misfiring battery drill. That's really weird. It's got a full battery. Swap it over to the other battery, see if it does the same. Okay, I figured out what's going on. So, let me bring the light around and I'll show you. Alright, so it's got a full battery, well, yeah, that's a full battery. So, if I half press the trigger, it'll work fine. If I fully press the trigger, it misfires. So that's awesome. Don't know what on earth is going on with that, but whatever, we'll press on. Where am I going to put a light? Let's do that. One down. So I'm really struggling to get enough pressure onto the drill. It's a mongrel of a place to have to drill, as you can sort of see lying down and trying to press sideways. The drill bit's sharp. I've got heaps of cutting oil, but yeah, it's just a real bastard of a thing. Okay, so drilling didn't work, that was garbage. I'm going to try a completely different change of tact. It's possibly going to make some people jump on the keyboard and flap out an angry response. I'm using a die grinder bit on my portable drill, my battery drill. For two reasons. One, I don't have a die grinder that's any good, and I refuse to buy a die grinder because I use it maybe once every 8 months, and every time I go to use it, it's lost and I can't find it, but I always know where my drill is. And this works perfectly fine. For anybody that wants to say it doesn't, rubbish. Watch this. Still needs more, but let's just see how far out I've got. Alright, so bugger all. Still a bit at that top. Wasn't that easier than drilling? Good.
Start shortening that down. It's gonna look something like that.
Nice.
Just shortened off.
Those things make light work of it, eh?
Oh, they certainly do. They cut it nice and straight too.
Yeah, they get crap all through all your work. So that's the standard sort of pipe. That's what you're left with basically to, you know, what it comes off the shelf with. When you use those little pipe cutters, you can see there's a little bit of a burr just on that inside there. So you just got to go around with a deburring tool, which basically just rips out, it's just a little hook, a sharp hook sort of thing, and it just rips out that lip of steel on that inside edge. When you flare this out, you don't want to have anything on that inside edge, you'll get leaks in your system. when you flare these ends up, you put this little thing on the end. That's the olive, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
That's your nut.
Nut.
And then your olive.
Yep.
So it just helps the tube flare keep its shape when you do the nut up.
Yeah, righto. And then you put this tool on, which basically guides the flare into the shape you want. Like that. Clamp it up tight. And then you can start winding in. It's a little angular little fitting at the end of this, and it basically rolls around and makes the flare, makes the pipe bend to the shape that you want. Matches the flare that's on the fittings that we put through all the bulkheads. Is it 37.5 degrees, that flare?
I think it's about that, yeah. You can get a little bit of variation. You get a SAE fittings which have a very similar sort of angle on the face, and being mostly brass fittings, you can usually make up the difference by just to tighten it a little bit.
Yeah, righto.
But
and what you're left with is basically just a pipe that has an angled flare on the end, and then the fittings match perfectly to that angle.
yeah. Okay, that'll go in.
I don't rate our chances of getting that in.
Well, it's a metre longer than the last one, so
Actually, we come out and we go sideways through that. There. Yeah. Take a seat. Yeah.
just want to punch a hole through here so that we can just feed the tube up in, because there should be enough room.
Yeah.
Otherwise we can notch that out later. Just going to flare this end and put it on so we've got one fixed point.
Yeah.
And basically just tie it along here in place.
Do you want like a 30mm hole saw or something like that?
Yeah, just the one that you've been using, whatever.
No worries, I'll get that. Alright, where are we up to?
Just punch that hole through there, so I'll just flare one end of this.
You've got like, you can come to about there, that gives you about 5mm of room to fluff around at this end.
We're going to be cutting it pretty close, I don't know if I...
How far off is this one, you reckon?
Sorry?
How far away do you reckon the 4 metre is from fitting?
Oh. It's pretty bloody close.
Yeah, it's probably too close to tell, eh? Plus whatever radius we need. You haven't got a 90 for that, have you?
I can. I've got a couple in the truck. I can put a 90 on there just so we can just do one bend.
Because I'm just thinking that'll save a bit of space, eh?
Yeah. So you won't have this big
Yeah.
group. You won't have to put a kick down.
Yeah,
And kick and then kick up again.
yeah. Let's do that because it's not going to fit easy otherwise.
No. And you just happy to still leave it like that?
Yep. I can just clamp it up there and maybe
Yep.
put a double up here, you know.
Because that'll work, because what I'll do with this tank line, this return line, so I'm going to have to do is if I was going to cut this corner out here and put the T-piece so one comes in here, one comes in there, and the other one shoots out this way.
Yeah.
But I might have to go back here,
Sure, yeah.
and then I'll just do the same thing, do a compact 90 drop, and it should run pretty well straight along next to that one.
Yeah, easy done.
If it was on the edge here, if it was this pipe, it might be a bit easier to sort of fiddle with it, but because it's that one there, I might just save myself some pain because I can drop that clamp there, pull this down out the way,
Yeah, that's
and those ones. So I'll put it in back here, do a compact drop, and then it'll just run along with that one. We'll do the same thing,
So, do you want to put this one in before you start that one?
Yeah, I think we'll put this one in first. I'll flare and put that in.
So this silver pipe on the side, the one that we're putting in now, that's our main pressure pipe. So it's going through the bulkhead there. The fitting needs to be flared up and everything on that end of the pipe. There's now a hole saw cut through there, so that'll clearance that. It'll be clamped to these other pipes, and then we're going to be, the pipe is only just long enough. You can see the fittings there and you can see the pipe, it only just reaches. So what the plan is, we're going to put a slight bend here and we're going to kink it over and just aim it towards those fittings over there so that we can still use this 4 metre pipe. So when you're clamping two hydraulic pipes together, or you're trying to fasten a hydraulic pipe to the wall or something like that, you have these little clamps, and if I just undo them, they are basically metal on this side, galvanised metal with a bolt, and they're two pieces of plastic. These plastic bits come out, they're completely independent, and then let me just assemble it. So this is your bottom and this is your top. This bottom can be welded or bolted or glued or whatever you want to do onto something solid, and then the two pieces come together like that, and they basically clamp over your pipes. Now the beauty of this system is you can get like doubles, triples, singles, whatever you sort of need. But the beauty of this system is that you can uniformly space all of your pipe work out. So for people with OCD, it's quite lovely and calming. It also means that you can start stacking pipes on top of each other. So for us, we've got 4 runs of pipes. That's for our main steering. We're going to be adding another 1.5, I suppose you could call it. So we're going one main pressure feed that goes from the bulkhead right the way through to the front of the freezer room, and then up through the floor and off to the bow. And then we've got a pipe that comes all the way back, and that ends up with just a little short run that taps into our return line back over here for our steering. Now we don't need to add a stack of these in because it's only one pipe that we need to really secure. So rather than welding on a separate set of these onto the side of the 4 that are already there, we're just going to start clamping them vertical, and we can have one pipe above the other. So it's another way that you can start to hook your pipes together when you're doing your hydraulics. So this fitting that Sam's got here is basically a T-fitting that plugs into our original pipes. So up here, this white pipe, the one that's sort of dangling down, is going to be cut into right where that mark is. You can sort of see it there. We're going to chop into that, add in this T-fitting, and that's going to be our return line for the anchor winch. So that's the return line for the steering. It goes all the way back down through the wall there, through the bulkhead, and into our 60 litre tank.
Paint the floor slippery.
Hang on, I'll do that.
Just don't know how much this is going to come out. We'll get some sandpaper and clean that all off. Just she's empty. Got lucky. No worries.
I was wondering if any oil managed to make it through.
Yes, it all depends on how long it's been since it's been run.
Yeah. I was just actually thinking, I wonder if the ball valve's been on.
That's right, we can fix that up. Sometimes you get a bit of a burr on the outside.
Yeah, right.
So it's got two parts to it. So you've got your knurling, which is screwing it in, and then you've got an iron. So you flick it, and it stays at that size, at that depth, I should say, and then you just run it around.
Right.
So instead of forcing it the whole way, you do it in sections. So you go in at 2 turns, go into iron it till it's free, then you go in another couple of turns.
Yeah, right.
It just takes the stress away from the tool.
I suppose I imagine you get a much cleaner flare as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's like anything really, like cutting wood, cutting steel, if you do it in increments rather than doing huge cuts,
Yeah.
you get a cleaner finish.
Yeah, nice.
That and too, with your smaller pipes, if you go too hard, you'll actually split the flare because it thins out the metal too quickly.
Right, okay.
And it actually will split the flare.
So smaller pipes being how big?
1/2 inch. I've done it on 1/2 inch pipes before, going too hard, too fast, and it just splits the flare, and then you basically got to cut that section of that end of the pipe off and start again.
Right, okay.
Because once it's cracked, you try and tighten the fitting up, it just expands the split.
Yeah. So you end up with your 3 pieces. You've got the nut, the olive, and then the flare that's just been created. The olive sits up hard against the back of the flare, and then the nut goes over top of all of it and pulls it all together. What size spanner are they?
Inch. Fit neatly back in there where it was.
Nice. So we're about halfway through the anchor hydraulic pipe work. Next week we're going to start on the pipes that work their way through the interior of the boat up towards the bow. We managed to get one of the 2 pipes done this week, but next week we'll get that finished off and we'll have the anchor winch up and running. So we'll give you a sneak peek of that now.
Heard you want to leave this place where we grew up. This old town, just put it all behind. Remember you and I would always find somewhere to hide when we were kids, so we could see and hear the water run. The river's gonna cry when you're gone.